Hey, my name is Dan. I used to work at the biggest dealership in the country, and now I teach fine folks like you how not to get fucked when buying a car. Now in this video I want to talk to you about all sorts of brands. Which brands of cars own which brands of cars, and why is that important? It's important because you have to know which brands to trust, which brands not to trust, which are reliable cars, which are not reliable cars. It's just simple as that. You will see some patterns, you will see brands that make good quality cars, and you will see patterns in those brands that kind of will underline how bad the quality of those cars are. Let's start with number one, Ford. Ford actually owns Lincoln, and they used to own Aston Martin. Aston Martin now is being owned by Daimler, a German huge auto group, just a bunch of billionaires that own car companies. Because why not? Let's just buy out some bunch of car companies and make cars. Next one, they used to own Jaguar and Land Rover. So yeah, if their quality was a little sketchy, that was probably why, because Ford owned them and they didn't give a shit about them. But now Tata owns Jaguar and Range Rover. This company right here that made this car, yeah, they made this car, is now owning Jaguar and Range Rover. If you're hoping for quality of Jaguar and Range Rover to go up, I wouldn't hold your breath. It's not going up anytime soon, or probably ever. Land Rover was a shit car, Jaguar was a shit car, they're still shit car, and they will always be shit cars. That's it. The last car that Ford used to own was Volvo. So Volvo again was never reliable, still isn't, and probably won't be ever, because now it's owned by Chinese. So China owns Volvo, and their quality of a car is probably going to be similar to your toaster or a vacuum. I wouldn't hold your breath and rely on their quality very much. Next one is going to be GM. They own Chevy, GMC, Cadillac, Buick, obviously. They own Holden, and they used to own Saab. Holden is about to go out of business completely. They stopped production, so they're on their way to bankruptcy, and Saab has actually went bankrupt a few years ago. Saab actually got bought out by Chinese, so they're supposed to be making it some kind of Saab electric cars. I wouldn't count on it, and if they will ever make Saab electric cars ever, that's going to be only for Chinese market. FYI, Chinese market and India's car market are the biggest car markets in the world. So if you're ever going to be seeing any technological improvements in vehicles, China and India, that's the way you should be looking at. Okay, next one is going to be Fiat. They own Abarth, which is a car performance tuning company, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and they used to own Ferrari. Now Ferrari is independent. Remember all the Ferraris that were catching on fire? Yeah, Fiat owned that shit. Anytime Fiat touches anything with their disgusting little grubby hands, it turns to shit. Do you remember Chrysler? Yeah, they're declaring bankruptcy. Do you remember Jeep? Their quality of cars has went down the drain. Ram, quality of cars down the drain. Jeep, same shit quality. Jeep actually used to make pretty decent cars back in late 80s and very early 90s when they had square Jeeps. Now, that's shit, so forget about it, they're gone. Maserati, if you know anything about quality of Maseratis, the transmissions are absolute garbage. I mean, it's bad. Next one is going to be Honda. Simply, they just own Acura. That's it, they only own Acura, and they're kind of boring. Next one is going to be Toyota, and they own Lexus, they own Scion. Scion is actually not a company anymore, so Scion no more. Toyota rebadged Scion, and they're making Scion just under Toyota now. Hino Motors and Daihatsu. Next one is going to be Mazda. Mazda was actually owned 30% by Ford, but they separated from Ford, thank God, and now they're actually making good cars. They're actually coming out with Skyactiv engines and Skyactiv technology, which is supposed to give us like 50, 60, 70 miles to a gallon without the car being a hybrid. So they are the only car manufacturer that I know of, and I know pretty much all of them, that actually is trying to do something different with the combustion engine, that is actually trying to improve combustion engine and make it better. So yeah, next one is going to be Hyundai. Hyundai owns Genesis, Kia, and Hyundai is actually owned 30% by Benz. So it's a little weird thing. There's the Benz owning 30% of Hyundai, and Hyundai owns a bunch of other car companies. Next one is going to be Renault, which owns Mitsubishi, 43% of Nissan, entire Infiniti, Datsun. Yes, for those of you that thought Datsun was dead, it did die, but it got revived as a cheap Nissan. You think Nissan can't get any worse or any cheaper? There's Datsun. And they also own Dacia. Like, if you know those car brands, none of them are good car brands. Like, none of them. None of them are reliable. That's what I say when I say good. They're not reliable. Datsun used to be good, now it's shit. Infiniti, the only cars from Infiniti that are good are sedans. Everything else is garbage. The only car from Nissan that's any good, literally, out of all the car that Nissan makes, the only one that's good is Nissan GTR. Everything else is complete garbage. Ooh, next one is gonna be Subaru. So Subaru is actually owned 16% by Toyota. So yeah, that's it. BMW owns Rolls-Royce and Mini Cooper. Next one is going to be Daimler. I bet you never heard of them. That's only because they're not a car brand. They're a car group, okay? They're auto group. They own a bunch of car companies. That's it. It's just a bunch of rich dudes owning lots of car companies. That's it. They own, you ready? Mercedes, Maybach, Smart, Freightliner. Yes, the American semi-truck company. AMG, which is actually a tuning company, and then they own part of Aston Martin. They make engines for Aston Martin, so they have an interesting kind of conglomerate. Next one is going to be the biggest car company in the world, and that's going to be Volkswagen. They own Audi, Lambo. So if your Lambo ever breaks, go shop for Audi parts. They're going to fit just fine. Porsche, Bentley, Bugatti, Skoda, Seat, Scania, and MAN Trucks, and they also own Ducati motorcycles. So yeah, if you're ever looking to buy a brand new car, I suggest you don't. But if you ever do buy a brand new car, or if you're wondering why your car is such shit and breaking all the time, look onto this list and see who owns it. For example, if you own a Chrysler and you're wondering why the transmission is absolute garbage, well, maybe because Fiat owns that shit. They don't really care about that shit. They're just gonna be making cars, people are buying them, and transmission breaks, and guess what? They have to come back to Fiat, Chrysler, to buy new transmissions. That's it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up below and click the subscribe button over my head, or watch one of those two videos if you want to see more money saving tips about cars. This is Dan with 60 Minute Car. I'm signing out, and I'll see you on the internet.